Recap time. Back in November, I did a video called Why I Stopped Caring About the MCU. It was very emotional. I got into all the reasons over the years of how Marvel turned me off, how I just couldn't be made to care about anything they were doing anymore, but the good times that I had with it. And that got a lot of traction. But I almost wanted to do a video right after that, and I didn't, about how, just to clarify something, that if the MCU started making good content again, then of course I would watch it. And then some months after that, back in January, I did a video called "Could the X-Men Save the MCU?" and that got a little bit of traction, not much compared to the other one, but it was me basically saying that the X-Men have the potential to revive the MCU, that those characters could be potentially even more popular than the ones from the Avengers, going off of the fact that they were once in their peak back in the 80s, the most popular Marvel comic of all time. They were so popular before the Avengers. The Avengers were considered the B-listers once upon a time. And now I want to come back to this and do a discussion that I didn't do back then when those videos were coming out, is that the MCU could win me back if they would just start putting out good content again, and stuff that is, not true to the source material in that it needs to be accurate to everything that happened, but true to spiritually true to everything, where the tone is the same, where the universe is the same. But can that happen? Can they win people back? Can Marvel be what it was? Did Marvel fizzle out for a time only to have a resurgence? Well, that's a question that I've been asking myself, because, for all this decay from the Disney Plus shows and stuff, we recently saw X-Men 97 come out, and importantly, it's not the biggest show on the planet. I don't think that it would be wise to assume that a whole lot of people are watching a Disney Plus cartoon, especially considering that a lot of people just are tuned out from Marvel. These are new characters that haven't brought people in yet. It's a revival of an old show. Disney Plus in general has not bringing in the subscribers. But we do see something with it, though. We see a lot of people are talking about Marvel again. People who say that Marvel hasn't produced anything this good in years, who are coming back to it. People who are getting hyped about characters like Cyclops and Gambit, who are being done very well. And it gave me a bit of validation, because this is what I was saying. I'm saying that the X-Men have the potential to save the MCU, and that, Gambit is a character that I've always loved for so many years, and I'm so glad that people are seeing what an awesome character he can be. The show is not perfect, however, and I'll go over it once I do a series review and once I have the full context of it. But what we're seeing here is just a little bit of potential. Like, once again, not a perfect show, not the most wide-reaching show, but it does have an audience. It is getting a lot of discussion around it on the internet, and characters are getting a certain level of popularity. And from there, it just made me think that, you're not that far away from just producing good movies for the MCU again and winning people back. And I know what some people might say: we shouldn't have the MCU back. We shouldn't have Marvel back. It was never good in the first place. And, you don't have to watch Marvel movies, even if there are good. But I just want to say, in terms of who's the minority and who's the majority with that argument, well, there were people talking like that even when the MCU was at its peak, and saying that they just needs to go away and rooting for it to finally go away. I think that we see signs that mainstream audiences aren't exactly done with superheroes. We saw that with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We're seeing that with Joker, Folie à Deux. Sorry, I pronounced it wrong. I have to look it up. But we see with both those things that audiences can be hyped about things that are comic book adjacent still. And we kind of see it a little bit with this show. Joker 2 really surprised me and got a lot of hype around it. And I think that at the very least, regardless of how it turned out, is going to do very well at the box office. So from there, we still see kind of an appetite for superheroes. And back to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I think that what we really saw with that is it did not have the biggest opening, but it made its money over time. Like, word of mouth, people were like, this is classic Marvel, and people came back to it. So with that, it's just so clear and so easy to get people back, I think, that if you just start making good stuff again with bigger characters and get people hyped about it, then you could have people back on board. You might not be making billion-dollar movies right off the bat immediately, because these would be new characters, still new characters to a lot of people. You would still need to win some people back over time, but you could definitely do it. It's very possible, and it's really clear to me that it's not superhero fatigue as it's bad movie fatigue. And once again, as I've I've been saying before, if you're actually in this fandom, if you're actually a part of the audience and you're seeing the mood, then you see that because people did not like Doctor Strange 2. They did not like Thor Love and Thunder. They were very vocal about that, and you can just see the decline from there. Now, the question is Disney Marvel going to take this opportunity to get themselves back on track since there still are people there who are willing to see the stuff if it's good? Well, their current slate does not really inspire me very much. And the first movie that they're going to have that comes out, and these are the only two movies that are in production right now, but it's Captain America 4 Brave New World. And that movie was supposed to come out this year. And I think it was supposed to already be out at this time, but it had horrible test screenings so bad to the point of they moved the movie to next year and are essentially rewriting and reshooting the entire thing, which that is going to just rack up the dollars for Disney. I don't know why they create these movies that are bad ideas to begin with and then reshoot them to death to try to salvage it. It's ridiculous. I'm not expecting that movie to be any good when it comes out. And what they said behind the scenes in the politics is that, the people are wondering, because Falcon and the Winter Soldier was a very political show, is the Brave New World Captain America, is that going to be really political? Was that the problem? Well, what we heard from behind the scenes is that the politics were less divisive and more just uninspired, and that definitely is the impression I get from Disney, that they won't take any hard swings at anything, but what they will do is that they will lay something on, like a Saturday morning cartoon special, the PSAs that were very on the nose to just make sure that people got a certain message. I can definitely see that from Captain America 4. The Captain America movies, except for perhaps the first one, they've always had a political element to them, but I can see how it's changed, and it was not handled well in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So that's kind of what I saw going into this film and what it was going to be, and I think that is a great disservice to Anthony Mackie's Falcon, who's now become Captain America, because I think that he could have been really great in the role, but he's been given such bad material that's really turned people off. Now, once again, what's going on with this movie, though, beyond that, is that Sam Wilson was a B-lister, and I think that the momentum that they had for these B-list characters being the ones to carry forward the MCU was just killed by, once again, all this bad writing and content. So that movie just is not going to be successful whatsoever. It's sort of like, and what's really a turnoff to me is while Guardians of the Galaxy felt like a return to really popular characters, some of this stuff just feels like Disney Plus scraps, and that's what the Marvels felt like, and that's what this future film feels like, and that's also what the Thunderbolts asterisk feels like. Disney Plus leftovers, and I just don't know how these movies are appealing to anyone, and it's like they have to release them because they were stupid enough to greenlight them and go forward in the process before they had their big admittance last year that the MCU is in a bad place. So it's like we have to get over these couple of films that just shouldn't exist, and all they're going to do is taint the reputation of the MCU really more. They should not be doing those films. But beyond that, it's kind of a question. We know they're doing a Fantastic Four movie, but I don't know how I feel about this movie because I am not a fan of the casting, as you guys know. But beyond that, what it sounds like the movie is it's going to be like an alternate universe version of Fantastic Four. It's going to be very experimental. It's going to be like set in a Jetsons style universe where it's what a futuristic version of the 60s would look like. And it's going to be very, very different. And I'm just not sure about that. Like, it could be great. Who knows? Marvel really needs to convince me of their track record with movies, though. But right now, I'm not feeling like what Marvel needs is to be really, really different in that sense. I think that they need solid writing again. I think that they need to take risks in the area where, it's kind of like Infinity War is one of the few Marvel movies that I think really, really took a risk with how it ended and the ending being shocking. And I think that's what X-Men 97 is doing too, which is giving people things to talk about. When, characters lose something important to them, a major character dies, and they're not going to stay dead. This is Marvel, but, what are they going to come back as? Questions like that. Infinity War generated so much discussion because everyone was dusted, and then the conversation becomes, well, now that they are at a very low point, how do they come back from that? I think that's what Marvel really needs is storytelling that feels like it's going somewhere, storytelling that feels like it's taking characters to different places, not necessarily an experimental, hokey 60s Fantastic Four movie. And that's a movie that really does not inspire confidence with me with the future of the MCU because that's all we got going forward. And until I'm won over by it, if I am, then I just don't feel excited looking at what we've got coming ahead. But we also have a Marvel movie releasing this year, technically the only MCU movie, and yes, I am now accepting it as an MCU movie, Deadpool and Wolverine. And everyone seems decently hyped for that movie, and it could be a lot of fun. Will it properly foreshadow how the X-Men are going to come into the MCU? And once again, I think that those characters are the strongest ones, the ones with the most potential to really connect with an audience and really get people excited. You know, there's so many stories and character development that I think that could really draw people in and make them hyped about this universe. But I'm not sure how far Marvel is going to go with introducing to those characters, because what we were hearing for years is that they're going to be introduced through Secret Wars. But now what I'm hearing is that they can't get a director for that film. And then there was going to be the Kang Dynasty Avengers movie, but that is sort of a blank slate now because of what went on with Jonathan Majors. So, and it seemed like they wanted to go forward and do stuff with like the Fox universe of Marvel, and we know, you know, of the X-Men, and we know that there's some of that was teased at the end of the Marvels, and that's going to be coming into play with Deadpool and Wolverine. But I'm just like, are you guys seriously going to go back to the Fox universe? You know, after X-Men 97 showed, you know, even the potential of these characters getting a lot more hype when they're done more accurate to the comics, are you really going to go back to the Fox universe that kept messing them up again and again? You know, it just shows how much the Fox universe messed up those characters, and just because we all like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine does not mean we need to hang on to that. So I'm wondering, are you guys really going to cling on to that? Are you guys looking at what's happening with X-Men 97 and saying that, yeah, the X-Men are really a viable option to go forward? We need to, you know, we need to speed this up. We need to go forward with these characters. Or are they just not really paying attention to that show because maybe it isn't getting the viewership, the high viewership that would make them pay attention to it? And are they just up in the air right now? And that's kind of frustrating to me because I'm not seeing a lot of movement from the MCU. I'm just seeing them try to get these films that no one wanted in the first place off the ground and out of the way. And it's like, but it's right there. You could make this universe popular again. You could make good movies again. You could make changes to the stakes and the tone and the characters you're using and the structure of this universe again, and have people back on board with it. But it's like they're in a weird state of flux right now. And I think that's really frustrating when you see it's sort of like being right in front of the finish line. And if you just got up and ran through it, then you'd win. But they're just kind of dragging their feet right now. And that's how I feel with Hollywood in general. I could say the same thing about Star Wars. We just got a report that Star Wars has lost money for Disney and that it hasn't been profitable. And it's like, well, why don't you, you know, change your management for once and start strategizing differently? The Mandalorian and Grogu is not going to save things going forward, but you're just so close to making something good again and getting people on board with it again. And and I will be there if things are good. You know, I wish I could write these characters myself, or at least help out with the writing of these characters. But it's like we just have to wait helplessly until they figure out what to do. But that's all I got for you guys today. Would you go back to the MCU and watch it again if they started putting out better content? What could the MCU do to win you back? Is there anything that they have on the horizon, be it Deadpool and Wolverine or Fantastic Four, that does interest you? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you, patrons, as always, for supporting the channel. My short film is going live on this channel this Friday, so stay tuned for that. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next time.